doing? Today I'm going to talk to you about something which is very close to growth of the business. At the same time, it's about winning customer. At the same time, it's about working with customer through customer centric approach. Yes, I'm talking about sales. Even though I talk a lot about customer experience, customer success, customer centricity, today is the day when I want to talk to you about customer centric sales. What I'm going to talk to you about is key steps to launching a successful sales career. What are the proven strategies? The times have really changed, especially in the last 2 years. We don't buy the way we used to. We have a different approach to our decision making, and selling, therefore, is not the same as it used to be. Do you agree? So let's explore today what does it take to actually do a customer centric sales. What are the strategies? What are the proven strategies that can help grow your sales? So if you're a sales professional, if you're a business leader, if you're a CX professional, and you are related to growing your revenue, then this video is for you. Watch it till the end. My name is Rajat Chawla, and I'm happy to spend some time together with you on this episode of Live. What is it that you have heard about sales? We might also be looking at some of the traditional way. I'm also going to draw a parallel between what it used to be and what it is today. So, what are the key steps to launch a successful sales career? Please understand in the beginning why people buy. Why is it that people actually take a decision? What is their driver? What is their motivation? Let's understand that to begin with. The reason people buy is because they want to. Let me just share my screen, make sure that you are able to see the mind map that I'm sharing. So people buy. Why people buy? People buy because of they want to improve their status. So for example, if somebody buys a car, somebody buys a phone, a better car, that is to improve their status. That's one of the drivers for them. Why people buy? People buy because it's an emotional decision. Sometimes we actually take an emotional decision and buy way more expensive product or service than what we had planned for, especially when we want to buy it for our near dear ones. Imagine if you have to get admission for your kid in a school, you would actually push your limits to put them into a good school. Isn't that an emotional decision? If you want to buy a gift for your spouse or a girlfriend or a boyfriend, would you buy on logic or emotions? So many of these buying decisions are emotional. Then why people buy? People buy because they want to demonstrate some achievement. They want to have a goal. So if you buy a laptop, you buy a laptop because you want to achieve certain goal. You want to be more efficient, you want to be more productive. Sometimes you again buy it because of a brand, but you buy because you want to achieve something. Then people buy because they value something. Something is more important than the other thing. They value a brand, as I said. Why we buy a product like Apple, which is more expensive than any other competitor product? Because we value brand. We stand for a certain values in our life, for quality, for aesthetics, for performance. And two core reasons, besides all that I shared, the core reasons are avoiding pain. We want to avoid pain. That's why we buy. So when we buy, let's say, insurance, we want to avoid the pain of seeing setbacks, losing funds. We want to also, the other reason we buy is we want for the pleasure, for the gain of pleasure. So these are the two, opposing ways of why people buy: avoiding pain and gain pleasure. Now let's look at, with that, let's also look at some of the other aspects of what people buy. What exactly is that people like to buy. We go deep into that. Interestingly, people buy outcomes, people buy solutions, especially if you're in the business of sales and customer centric sales and you want to launch a successful sales career, then be aware that people don't buy because you have a product, because you're good in selling, because you're very convincing. No, they have nothing to do with that. Sometimes, there's a common interesting and a simple example is, if you're selling drill, people don't buy drill. People buy because they want to make a hole using the drill machine. So they, in their vision, they are going to create a hole where they probably put a nail and they put a picture frame of their near and dear one. So put a painting there, right? So that's an outcome for them. They don't buy a drill machine, they buy a hole. That's one of the simple ways to explain how people buy and what people buy. Now, who they buy from, this is where probably some of the emphasis is going to come. Key steps to launch successful sales career, you need to understand who they buy from. If you're that person who's a customer centric sales leader, then what do they look? They look for trust. Can they trust you for what you're offering? And sometimes, sometimes still, if you buy because of decisions based on emotion, but we are not trusting, that hanging nagging feeling stayed with us, that the person, I couldn't trust that person, right? So they first trust you and then they buy you. They buy because they want to feel special. Who they buy from is, if you can make somebody feel special truly and not just trying to make them special. You don't need to create illusion, but truly you make them feel special and they feel special through your product, service, and because of you, then they buy. And again, they buy from someone who can own their problem and who can also provide them a solution to the problem, end to end solution to their problem. Many a times people just drop the solution and move on. They just run away, right? Are you there for them when they need you, even after the sales? Are you there in the business of solving their problem till it's solved truly, or just telling them it will be solved and then you leave it to them, right? And people buy from those who are purposeful, who are authentic. In fact, interestingly, there is a metric called as Net Promoter Score, which measures the customer advocacy, whether your product or service is going to get advocated by the customer, whether your customers become loyal. The author had written a book on Ultimate Question 2.0, and Fred Richard is the author founder of this whole philosophy of NPS. He's written recently a book called as Winning on Purpose. So are you selling something which is more purposeful, which is more humane, which is solving the bigger problem in the world? And do you stand for some cause? When you stand for some cause, you naturally magnetically attract people who connect with your cause, right? So is this something, your products is purposeful? Is your service purposeful, solves the bigger purpose? These are the people people buy from. In fact, interestingly, another interesting thing I want to share from Andy Paul, who is a sales expert. He nicely put it saying, your buyers need your help to quickly gather and make sense of information. They need to make the decision with least possible investment at their time, at the least possible investment of their time, attention, and resources. So they want to make a decision easily, quickly, and precisely, with least amount of investment, right? So that's what, if you're able to offer that, that's why people would buy from you. Those are the people whom they would buy from. That's the reason Amazon is super successful, because Amazon had, through technology, through e-commerce channels, has made it. Of course, here we are talking about having a successful sales career, but I'm just comparing how technology also needs to live up to the same expectation as humans. Moving on, let's say how they buy. How they buy. They buy if they feel connected to you. If you're this one who is selling, if they feel connection to your product, if they feel connection to your service. People buy if you are able to empathize with them truly. And empathy is a true, deep ability to connect with the people and being able to feel for them and being able to think from their position, your ability to put yourself in their shoes. Empathy is that skill. So are you able to empathize with the people? That's how they buy. If you bring in empathy, they buy. And they buy stories. People buy stories, and they actually feel themselves to be part of that journey. Somebody who is going through that journey, if you're able to demonstrate that you have been through that journey yourself and you've helped people who have been through that journey, if they understand and connect with your story, they buy. As it said, stories sell, facts tell. So your story has a great power because it can connect at a deeper feeling level, and that's why people buy. That's how they buy. They buy for inspiration. If you can inspire them, if they can envision seeing themselves from the place where they are to where they want to be, if you can provide them inspiration, if you can show them that vision through your product and service truly, and you have studies, case studies, stories, examples, proven track record, that's how they buy. So interestingly, I would draw a comparison between what it used to be earlier and what it is today. So I'm going to show you old versus new. What has changed? Old versus new. And these are some of the interesting example. First one, earlier sales would happen through pitch. Even today, I hear a lot of entrepreneurs, how was your pitch? Was your pitch successful? People don't want to get pitched. Now this is the age of conversation. You can only sell through conversation. There's a lot of understanding, knowledge, awareness already available, so you should be just able to help your buyer make a decision through conversation. Second is, you need not have to tell, but you have to ask. You can't just keep telling, this is my product, these are my feature, these are the benefits, this will work for you. Instead, you have to ask questions. Now, what's the third thing? People buy if you're able. Earlier, sellers would change the minds, would push and try and change the minds of the buyer. Now they help them make up minds. They make up minds. People are their own decision makers. The belief is that they know what's good for them. You are just a guide in the process, and you cannot change somebody's mind by being persuasive, by being super smart. That won't work. Fourth thing, earlier it was, you listen to respond. The salespeople had that eagerness to talk about their product. They would just push, they would just wait, and probably sometimes let the buyer speak the least and would do most of the talking. That's no more going to work. The new age customer centered selling is all about listening to understand in the process of selling. It is listening to understand. Fifth aspect, earlier it used to be, it's about me, it's about my success, it's about my targets, it's about my numbers, whether I'm achieving those or not, whether I'm making the revenue for the company, achieving my goals. No, it's about, I win when my buyers win. That's the shift we are talking about. You win as customer centered sales professional if you see your buyers winning through your solutions and products. That's why there is a new emerging role called as customer success managers, because that's all about the success of your customers. The sixth difference is, earlier it used to be all about extracting value from the customer and making sure you are getting best out of your customers. And sometimes, through various persuasion techniques, pushing, follow ups, and all that. Now it's about giving value. It's about giving before getting. All the content marketing, all the social media marketing, everything has really changed around, where you first demonstrate your credibility, first give lots of value, and then customer trusts you, and only then they come along with you. in so many products and services. Now, the seventh change is, as a result, if you do all this that I talked about, you earlier would have low win rate. The percentage of winning was very low. You can expect to have high win rate. So you, because you're focusing on win-win, you're focusing on having your customers achieve the results, the outcome, and being in their shoes, selling with the empathy, and focusing on delivering more value, more value, more value. In the result, you win and they win. So we talked about today in these key steps to launch successful sales career, about why people buy, which is basically because of status, emotions, achievement, values, avoiding pain and gaining pleasure, and what people buy. Let's look at that, recap that as well quickly. What people buy is, they buy outcome, they buy results. What people buy, let's look at who they buy from, who can be seen as a credible buyer, somebody who seller who can win trust, who can make them feel special, who solves their problem, and who is purposeful. Now, how they buy, let's look at that as well. They buy because of connection, they buy because of empathy, they buy who have a story where they can feel a part of it, and they buy because somebody inspires them to take action authentically. Now, what has changed? We looked at change, pitch versus conversation, telling versus asking, persuading to change minds versus facilitating to help them make up their own mind, listening to respond versus listening to understand. It's about me versus I win. When buyers win, it's about extracting value versus giving value, that leading to high win rate versus earlier low win rate. I hope this was useful for you. If you're able to bring this shift, you're able to think from customer centric mindset using these strategies, then you're up, and you practice then and apply that and keep practicing, keep applying. Sometimes some of the sales trainings out there might actually train you in very different tactics and strategies of pushing yourself, and probably you, if you do not resonate with them, you know what's missing. And that's the reason earlier it was said that the best salespeople are extroverts, which means who can put forth, be very persuasive, and command the conversations. Today, it's not like that. In fact, some of the best salespeople are someone who are introverts, ambiverts. Why I'm mentioning that is, if you think you're not comfortable in a persuasive selling, that's anyways changed. Now it's empathy based selling. The strategies that I shared with you can work for anyone and everyone if you're able to bring that customer centric selling approach. Thank you for being here. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to take those questions. It's been a pleasure to be with you on this conversation. I look forward to connecting with you again. Thank you very much.